Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the moderator of the next session, Alena Kucko.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here with us. And I would like to welcome on stage straight away Vahan Kostanyan, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Armenia. Welcome, Mr. Minister. Thank you so much, Mr. Minister, for coming. It's a long trip for you, but we appreciate you being here and being open to share your perspectives. The theme of the conference today is Taming the Storm, and Armenia definitely has been in the center of rather strong storms over the past couple of years. There seems to be a change in foreign policy of Armenia. What we see from here is that Armenia is increasingly trying to pivot away from Russia. Definitely, there seems to be a feeling that the relations with Russia did not work out, and there seems to be a stronger pivot towards the Western countries and desire of Armenia to develop other partnerships, both in terms of security, but also economy. We see that in terms of Russia, Armenia already said that you are suspending your membership in the Collective Security Treaty Organization. You already, for example, removed the Russian border guards from the airports in Armenia. And on the other hand, we see statements from Armenian officials that there is desire to move much faster and much closer towards the European Union. Can you share a little bit with your thinking on this change and which way you would like to go?
Well, first let me say that I think that we are still in a storm, which makes us work harder to diversify our international relations and the foreign policy of Armenia. And if I try to sum up in one word what Armenia is doing and what is the foreign policy of Armenia right now, it's to diversify, aiming to protect the sovereignty, international borders of Armenia, but what is also not less important, the democracy of Armenia. The history of starting from our independence shows that dependence on one party brought us to the situation that we had to face during the last couple of years, and I mean from security point of view, from economic point of view, from different dimensions and aspects. And now we are eager to deepen our relations with different partners, starting from European Union and United States to India and Middle East. Of course, the value-based cooperation is one of the priorities for us, and that's why the cooperation with European Union and United States has crucial importance. And this is not only the belief and priority for the government of Armenia, but also this is a bottom-up approach, because the people of Armenia, our citizens, have European aspirations, and the government of Armenia is there to realize these aspirations.
Thank you so much for that. Let's unpack it piece by piece. When we're talking about the European Union, what is the level of your ambition? What would it mean in practice? What you are trying to achieve, and what you think is the European Union ready to offer to you in the foreseeable future?
Thank you for the question. So a year ago, Prime Minister of Armenia, during his speech in the European Parliament, announced that Armenia is ready to get closer to European Union as much as European Union will find it appropriate. So later during the year, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Armenia announced that we are considering to apply for the candidacy for the European Union. What I would suggest to do a small exercise and imagine that Armenia applied for candidacy tomorrow. What is the reaction coming from the European Union? Unfortunately, it's not clear for us at the moment, because, you know, European bureaucracy is rather difficult with 27 member states. But in the same time, I would say we are quite happy with the dynamics that we have with the European Union. Currently, we're negotiating new partnership priorities to add to a CPA agreement, comprehensive and enhanced partnership agreement that we have. And the first time, we're going to have a security component between Armenia and European Union. So just recently, the European Union adopted the package for European Peace Facility will be granted to Armenia. We are starting a visa liberalization dialogue, and we do believe that we don't have much time to waste and we need to speed up. And each of these components is bringing additional confidence that the European future of Armenia is possible.
Indeed, you mentioned that Armenia wants to speed up. There's feeling also in Europe that there's historic window of opportunity. There's definitely changed perspectives in countries like Armenia, where there is more realization about the dangers of depending on Russia as the primary provider of security, but also economic security. So the EU is trying to capitalize on that as well. You are talking about closer economic relations with the EU, visa liberalization. At the same time, Armenia is still member of the Eurasian Economic Union, right? Exactly. How does that fit into the thinking that you can have closer partnership with the EU? Are those two compatible? Do you have to choose at some moment in time?
We're talking with our European partners how we can raise the standards of the goods produced in Armenia so that we can compete in the European market. And in the same time, we do believe that some special procedures can be applied right now with the preferential tax mechanism provided to Armenia so that we can enter the European market. We used to have this GSP Plus system previously, but unfortunately it's not working right now. But we are working with the European partners to diversify not only the foreign policy of Armenia, but also the economy of Armenia. It's not an easy job to do, and it's not possible to do in one day, because we have a free market in Armenia, and it's difficult to change the habits of our business community and to change the markets that they used to work in one night. But we are working on this very closely with our European partners and also with our American partners. An April 5 summit between Armenia, United States and EU, which happened in Brussels, and this was an extraordinary event for us. It has a very big highlight on the economy and raising the economic resilience of Armenia and helping Armenia to direct its export to new markets.
There is a question that we have from the participants, and it's about whether your shift towards the West represents a 180-degree shift in foreign policy. And probably to elaborate a bit more on this question, how far are you ready to break away from Russia? You mentioned economic dimension as well, but if you look at the numbers, actually exports to Russia have been grown over the past years. There's also a number of re-export through other countries to Russia. So Russia still seems to be a very important economic partner for Armenia. How are the relations working there?
We are not diversifying our foreign policy and economic policies because of Russia. We are diversifying it because of ourselves and the understanding and belief that we need to change the Soviet-style economy. We need to raise the standards of our market, and this is with the aim to raise the prosperity of our citizens. Because at the end of the day, every government is trying to deliver the best for its citizens, from very and pure political views, even to be re-elected, and we believe, that
well, Armenia has like 12% GDP growth last year, which is unprecedented for many countries.
It did, but so the government of Armenia put ambitious plan to have at least 7% of the growth of GDP every year. And with time passing by, and with the sanctions, and with the policies that the government adopted not to create space for circumvention of sanctions, it's becoming more and more difficult. So that we need to not only change the market, but upscale the economy, that we have to change the standards. And here, the choices that we are making and the policies that we are implementing are much aligned with the Europeans.
Economic relations are important, yet it seems that for both your relations with the European Union, potentially also relations with Turkey, there is one issue that you still need to solve. There is pressure on Armenia to make sure that you find a way to have a peace agreement with Azerbaijan, and that would definitely make easier your economic relations with other countries as well. Can you give us a little bit of your insights? Where are you in negotiations with Azerbaijan? Do you think that there is going to be an agreement coming soon? And potentially, what are the outlines of the agreement?
Just 2 days ago, Armenian side shared with Azerbaijani colleagues the 10th draft of a peace treaty, which we have been negotiating for already more than 2 years. And we were always sincere in our statement, saying that Armenia is really interested in peace in the region and is ready to close the cycle of violence in our region. We do believe that it is possible to conclude the peace treaty and sign it till November, basically till COP29. And here probably I should remind the August audience that Armenia supported the Azerbaijani candidacy for COP29, and that was a confidence-building measure. So now what we did, we have almost agreed, 95% agreed text for the peace treaty. And if there is sincere political win on Azerbaijani side as well, we do think that this is realistic to finalize the peace treaty. And our dimensions, which are not less important, it's the opening of communications in the region. And being a landlocked country, we are the ones who are really interested in the opening of communications, because we believe that not only Armenia, but South Caucasus in general could play a very important role, taking into account the changes of logistical chains and maps in the world. And the government of Armenia introduced an initiative called Crossroads of Peace, suggesting our neighbors to open the communications based on the sovereignty and jurisdiction of the states, and based on the principles of reciprocity and equality. We are ready to relaunch and reestablish the railway communication with Azerbaijan, but also with Turkey. And with Turkey, we used to have this railway communication before the 90s, which was very important. And today, the significance of these communications are getting more and more important. And we also suggested to simplify the border crossing procedures for the goods, understanding that for the logistics, the time is the key, how much time these goods are spending on the border, on the roads, etc., etc. So we do believe that the proposal that we made to our counterparts is realistic, and this is beneficial for us, for everybody.
And what's the timeline for that? When do you think that could happen?
We are ready for this. Once we have formal response from our counterparts, we can start the execution. Fortunately, we already reached an agreement with our Turkish counterparts to start at least the feasibility study of the railway which used to work, to understand what are the conditions, what needs to be done if there is a political decision by them to reestablish this communication. So we want to be ready for this. Also, we had an agreement with Turkish side 2 years ago to open the land border, which is closed since 90s, for third country citizens. And Armenia side did its homework. We are ready to open the communications. We developed all the infrastructures necessary. And again, here we need a decision from our counterparts. Unfortunately, everything which I'm telling is bringing to one conclusion, that we need political decisions and political win. And the message coming from Armenia is that the time to act is now. The region that I'm living and the generation that I'm representing want to live in peace, and especially connectivity and increased interdependencies can be the guarantee of peace and stability in our region.
And of course, you do need to make sure that you take care of your security. So I want to connect it also to one of the questions we have on slide about the transition that Armenia is trying to make, not just from Soviet-style economy, but from Soviet-style military systems to more potentially Western ones. Of course, you are now moving away from maybe illusions that Russia is going to provide any security guarantees for you or help Armenia with security issues. Also, there's been more communications with the United States. There's an offer of more enhanced military cooperation with the US. At the same time, even in terms of weapon supplies, you're talking to India, but also to countries like France. Can you give us a little bit more insight how this transition is going, where you are in your relations on the security field with other partners?
Maybe this brings to one of the most important debates, whether democracy means also security or democracy is a threat. And we do believe that democracy is a security, and we are eager to enhance our security cooperation with democracies as well. It also worth to mention that we are realizing our right to defense, and the security architecture and our military architecture that we are changing. This is to protect our sovereignty and inviolability of our borders, and it's not against any third country. This is very important highlight to be done probably. We are currently deepening our security cooperation with different actors. You already mentioned France, India, but also with United States. Another very important security component for our region, this is the EU monitoring mission that we have deployed to our international border between Armenia and Azerbaijan, and this is highly supporting the stability in bordering regions.
Armenia has suspended its membership in Collective Security Treaty Organization, meaning that you are not participating in meetings, not paying membership fees. Are you planning to formally exit CSTO?
Prime Minister of Armenia announced that this is the step that we already undertook, and so just to bring how it starts. When in 2022 the sovereign territory of Armenia was invaded by Azerbaijan, we were expecting at least political announcement from the CSTO as a security organization, which didn't happen eventually. And Armenia decided that the unclarity made by the CSTO partners on our borders, on our sovereign territory, but in fact also on the borders of the security organization, is rather a threat than a benefit for us. And we suspended our membership in the organization. We are considering the further steps to be made based on the feedback coming from the CSTO members.
We're running out of time, but I'll sneak in at least one question from Slido that we have. You very briefly mentioned that Armenia is trying to make sure that there is no sanction circumvention via Armenia. Are you getting pressure from Western partners to make sure that you do much more? Again, if you look at the numbers, I think the trade between Armenia and Kazakhstan or Uzbekistan went up by like 400%, which probably has something to do with the desire to go around the sanctions regime.
We are in constant contact with our EU colleagues, but also US colleagues, and as far as we heard from relevant authorities and counterparts, we are satisfied with the level of cooperation that they have with Armenia. We introduced tailor-made government decrees on export, and this was worked out with our Western partners as well.
And the very final brief question. You talked a lot about the improvements or progress that you're making in relations with the European Union. What is your message? If you would ask for one thing from the EU, what it would be? What do you need now that maybe EU is not offering? Or if you need some clarity on the pathway forward, what would you ask the EU to do?
You remember that I said that the Prime Minister announced that we're ready to go as far as European Union will find it appropriate. We, but also our people, need to realistically get a response. What are the limits of this appropriate by European colleagues?
Thank you so much. It was on the record, so we'll definitely pass the message. Mr. Minister, thank you so much for being with us, and I hope you enjoy your stay in Prague.
Thank you very much.